Billionaire finds Maid's daughter dancing for his paralyzed son. What he did next will shock you. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get started with this amazing story. In a grand mansion perched atop a hill, filled with priceless art, gleaming marble floors, and glistening chandeliers, life for the wealthy seemed perfect, almost like something from a dream. This was the home of billionaire Gregory Stone, a man known across the world for his success in business, his expensive taste, and his powerful influence. But despite all the luxury surrounding him, Gregory's life was far from complete. His son, Ethan, had been paralyzed from the waist down after a tragic accident years ago. The pain of seeing his son struggle with every move weighed heavily on Gregory's heart. Every day was a reminder of his helplessness. His son, once full of energy and life, was now confined to a wheelchair, unable to do the things he once loved. In the vast, cold mansion, it seemed there was little hope for joy. But one day, that all changed. It was a quiet afternoon when Gregory, walking through the long corridors of his home, overheard something that made him stop in his tracks. Soft music echoed through the halls, the sound so unexpected that it made him pause. He followed the music, his steps slow and deliberate, until he reached the large, open doorway of the family room. There, in the center of the room, was a sight he never expected to see. The maid's daughter, a small girl named Emily, was dancing. At first glance, it seemed like a simple, innocent moment. But as Gregory stood there, hidden in the shadows, he noticed something that made his heart ache. Emily was dancing not for herself, but for Ethan. Her movements were graceful, her face full of concentration as she twirled and spun, her eyes never leaving the face of the boy in the wheelchair. Ethan, his face filled with a mix of awe and joy, was watching her intently, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. He couldn't move, but in that moment, it was clear that he was feeling something he hadn't in a long time: happiness. Emily's dance wasn't just a performance. It was a moment of magic, of connection. Gregory couldn't understand what he was witnessing at first. Here was a young girl, poor and from a family of servants, yet her dance was doing more for his son than all the doctors and therapists combined. It was as if the music had unlocked something deep inside Ethan, something long forgotten. For the first time in years, Gregory saw his son smile, truly smile, as he watched Emily's every move. The joy in Ethan's eyes was unmistakable, and it left Gregory speechless. He had never imagined that something as simple as dance could bring his son such peace. But as the music came to an end, and Emily stopped, breathing heavily with a smile on her face, Gregory knew that something had changed in that room. Ethan wasn't just a boy in a wheelchair anymore. He was a boy filled with hope again. Gregory stood frozen in the doorway, unsure of what to do next. His mind raced as he processed what had just happened. He had lived for years in the sterile world of business and power, thinking that wealth and resources could fix everything. But here was a simple, heartfelt act of kindness, something no amount of money could buy. It made him question everything. What had he been missing all these years? What could he do to repay Emily for giving his son something he had almost lost forever: joy? I am sure Gregory was still standing there, in the doorway, staring at his son, who seemed to be glowing with a kind of joy he hadn't seen in years. His heart was racing, and he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the young girl, Emily. She had done more for Ethan in a few minutes than all the therapists, doctors, and specialists had done over the years. What was it about this moment, about Emily's dance, that seemed to reach Ethan in a way nothing else had? Gregory didn't know, but he had to find out. He stepped forward, the sound of his shoes echoing slightly in the quiet room. Ethan hadn't noticed him yet, his gaze still locked on Emily as she stood there, catching her breath, her cheeks flushed with the effort of the dance. "That was beautiful," Gregory said quietly. Emily turned toward him, startled by his voice. She quickly dropped her gaze, her face flushing with embarrassment. "I didn't mean to intrude," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Gregory shook his head, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "No, You didn't intrude. You did something I could never have done." He looked down at his son, whose smile had only grown wider. "Ethan, you look happier than I've seen you in years." Ethan, still in his wheelchair, glanced up at his father, his eyes bright. She made me feel like I could move again," he said quietly. Gregory was taken aback by the words. He had been so focused on trying to find a medical solution for his son's paralysis that he had never considered the power of something as simple as a dance. But the truth was, in that moment, it was clear that something magical had happened. Emily had brought his son to life in a way that Gregory had never expected. He felt a sudden rush of emotion, a mixture of pride and gratitude for the girl who had unlocked this new world for Ethan. "I don't know what to say," Gregory continued, his voice thick with emotion. "What you just did for my son, it's priceless. You gave him something we've been searching for years. Hope." Emily stood there, awkwardly shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "I didn't do anything special, Mr. Stone. I was just dancing." Gregory shook his head again. "It's more than that. You gave my son a chance to feel human again." He paused, looking over at Ethan. "And that's something I can't put a price on." Ethan looked up at Emily, his eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," he said softly, the words simple but carrying all the weight of the emotion he felt. Emily smiled shyly, her face still flushed. "You're welcome," she said quietly. Gregory took a deep breath, his mind racing. He had just witnessed something that had the potential to change everything. His son, his precious boy, had found something that the best doctors and treatments hadn't been able to provide. Connection. And it was because of Emily. Gregory knew he had to do something big, to show her how much this meant. "Emily," he said, his voice steady and firm. "I want to make sure you know how much this means to me and to my family. Whatever you need, whatever you want, just let me know. We're going to take care of you." Emily blinked, her eyes wide with surprise. She hadn't expected this at all. "I don't need anything, sir. I'm just happy if Ethan is happy." Gregory smiled, his eyes full of warmth. "It's not just about Ethan, Emily. It's about you too. You've given us a gift that we can never repay, but we can certainly try." Emily didn't know what to say, so she just nodded, her heart racing. She had never imagined something like this happening. The world of the Stones, the world of wealth and power, had always seemed so far out of reach. Yet here she was, standing in the middle of their grand home, being offered something she never thought she'd have. Gregory watched her, sensing her discomfort. "I'll give you some time to think about it," he said, giving her a kind smile. "But I mean what I said. You're part of this family now." As Gregory left the room to give them some privacy, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. He had just witnessed a small miracle, one that no amount of money or status could buy. And in that moment, he knew that Emily's presence in their lives had already changed them in ways they couldn't yet understand. I have to admit, Gregory's heart was still racing as he thought about the conversation he had just had with Emily. The offer to help her, to provide for her, felt like the right thing to do, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. He had lived his entire life surrounded by wealth. But in that moment, he realized that the most valuable thing wasn't money. It was the connection he had just witnessed. The way Emily had touched his son's heart with her simple act of dancing. Gregory had to admit that he had underestimated the power of human connection, something he'd always taken for granted. Emily had shown him that. Days passed, and Gregory kept his promise to Emily. He didn't push her into any decisions. He knew that she needed time to process everything, to let it all sink in. But as the days went on, it became clear that Emily was changing. Her once shy demeanor started to fade as she became more comfortable with the Stone family. She spent more time with Ethan, and over time, their bond grew stronger. Emily continued to dance for Ethan, but it wasn't just about the dance anymore. It was about the trust, the understanding, and the care they shared. One evening, as Emily was about to leave after another beautiful session with Ethan, Gregory called her into his study. She hesitated for a moment before stepping inside, unsure of what was to come. Gregory looked up from his desk, his expression warm yet serious. "Emily," he said, his voice steady, "I've been thinking a lot about what you did for Ethan, and I need to tell you something." Emily bit her lip nervously, unsure if she had done something wrong. "What is it, Mr. Stone?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Gregory stood up and walked over to where Emily was standing. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture that was both comforting and powerful. I know that what we've offered you might be overwhelming, but I want you to understand that this is not just about money or privilege. It's about giving you the opportunity to live your life in a way you never thought possible. You've given my son something I couldn't, and for that, I am forever grateful. Emily's eyes widened with surprise. She hadn't expected this. Gregory continued, his voice softer now. I'm not asking for anything in return, Emily, but I want to make sure you know that your future, your dreams, matter to me and to my family. I'm offering you a scholarship, a chance to pursue your dreams and education. You've already shown what kind of person you are, someone who has the power to heal and uplift others. It's time you had the chance to explore what you're truly capable of. Emily stood there, stunned. She had never imagined this kind of opportunity. She had always dreamed of a better life, but the idea that Gregory was offering her a chance to build a future was beyond anything she could have hoped for. Mr. Stone, I don't know what to say, she stammered. You don't have to say anything, Gregory replied with a smile. Just know that this is yours, and we'll be here to support you every step of the way. Emily's heart swelled with gratitude and disbelief. She had come to the Stone family as a maid's daughter, just another face in the crowd, but now she felt like she had found a place where she truly belonged. As she left the study that night, Emily felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she truly believed that her dreams could come true. But little did she know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would not only change her life, but also have a profound impact on the Stone family. I think back to the day Emily received the scholarship offer. It felt like a dream she could hardly believe. She had never imagined a life like this, one full of opportunities she never thought possible. But as time passed, something even more incredible began to unfold. With Gregory's support, Emily was given the chance to attend a prestigious university, something she had never imagined would happen for someone like her. It was a fresh start, but it was also a challenge. Emily had grown up in an environment where every day was a struggle to make ends meet. She had learned to be self-sufficient, to work hard, and to never expect anything without earning it. But now, she was walking into a new world, a world filled with expectations, challenges, and experiences she had only dreamed of. The first few weeks at the university were overwhelming. She was surrounded by students from wealthy families, most of whom had access to everything she could only wish for. At first, Emily felt like an outsider, unsure of how to navigate the social circles, the pressure of keeping up with academic work, and the fear that she might not belong. But then, something unexpected happened. Gregory continued to be a steady presence in her life. He would check in with her regularly, offering advice and encouragement. His support made all the difference. And over time, Emily started to find her footing. She began to excel in her studies, and she made connections with other students who appreciated her intelligence, determination, and humble spirit. It wasn't long before she realized that her unique perspective, shaped by her upbringing, was an asset rather than a liability. Emily began to blossom in ways she hadn't imagined. She took on leadership roles in her classes, became involved in various clubs, and made friends who respected her for who she was, not for the wealth she lacked. But there was still something missing. No matter how successful Emily became at the university, there was a part of her that still felt tied to her roots. She couldn't forget about Ethan. The connection they had formed through her dance had become something deeper than just a kindness. It was a bond she cherished. Ethan had shown her a side of herself that she hadn't known existed, the side that was capable of healing, of making a difference. So, Emily continued to visit Ethan whenever she could. Despite the distance that now separated them, their friendship remained strong. Gregory noticed how their bond had grown and how much it meant to both of them. One day, after a long conversation with Emily, he sat her down in his study and looked at her with a serious expression. Emily, he began, his voice firm yet kind, I see the way you care for Ethan. You've given him something no one else could, but I think you're ready for more. I want to help you build a future that allows you to use your talents, your heart, to make a difference, not just for Ethan, but for the world. Emily's eyes widened. She had always thought her dreams were limited to what she could achieve on her own, but now, with Gregory's offer, her future seemed limitless. What do you mean? She asked. Gregory smiled, his voice full of warmth. I want to help you start a foundation, Emily. A place where you can teach dance therapy to children who need healing, just like Ethan. You've got the heart, the skill, and now, the resources to make it happen. Emily was speechless. For the first time, she realized that her dreams weren't just about her own success. They were about helping others, about creating a legacy of healing and hope. "Are you sure?" she asked, still in disbelief. Gregory nodded, his expression unwavering. "I'm sure. You've earned this. And it's time you had the chance to create something that will change lives. Let's make it happen." Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes. This wasn't just a scholarship or a generous offer. It was a chance to live out her purpose, to do something that mattered in the world. And with Gregory's support, she knew there was nothing that could stop her. I still remember the moment when Emily realized that her dreams were no longer just dreams. They were beginning to take shape, and the foundation Gregory offered her was the first step toward creating something incredible. After their conversation, she immediately began planning. She dedicated herself to the idea of using dance therapy to help children who, like Ethan, needed healing. But as she started researching and organizing, Emily quickly discovered that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Starting a foundation meant more than just good intentions. It required a plan, funding, partnerships, and a solid framework to ensure it could actually make a difference. Emily knew she needed to learn a lot more than what she had been taught in school. So, she reached out to Gregory for advice, and he immediately connected her with some of his trusted contacts, people who had helped him build his own empire. They were experts in nonprofit management, legal matters, and funding, and they were more than willing to mentor her. With their guidance, Emily quickly began to understand the complexities of running a foundation, but she never lost sight of the core mission, healing through dance. Slowly, the pieces started coming together. Emily began to form partnerships with hospitals, local community centers, and even schools to bring her therapy program to children in need. She also reached out to some of the country's top dance instructors to help her develop a curriculum. Her foundation was starting to take shape, but there was still a long way to go. The first major breakthrough came when Emily managed to secure a grant from a well-known charity that focused on children's health and wellness. The funding was enough to kickstart her project, and it gave her the momentum she needed to continue pursuing her vision. Gregory was beyond proud of her progress. He watched as Emily transformed from a shy girl, unsure of her future, into a confident young woman with a clear purpose. But what amazed him the most was how she had stayed true to herself throughout the process. She never lost sight of what mattered, helping others, particularly children like Ethan, who had been given a second chance at happiness thanks to Emily's dance. As the months went by, Emily's foundation grew, and the impact it had on the children she worked with became undeniable. She saw firsthand how dance therapy could help children build confidence, improve their physical abilities, and even heal emotional wounds. There were moments when she had to stop and let the overwhelming emotion wash over her as she saw the smiles on the faces of children who had once felt hopeless. Emily's foundation wasn't just changing lives, it was saving them. One day, as Emily was preparing for one of her biggest charity events yet, she received an unexpected call from Gregory. He told her that he was incredibly proud of what she had accomplished, but there was something he wanted to discuss. Emily felt a flutter of nerves, wondering if it was something about the foundation or her future. When she met Gregory later that week, he was smiling, but his eyes were filled with a kind of warmth and admiration she hadn't seen before. "You've done something remarkable, Emily," he said. "And now, I want to help you take it even further." Gregory's words left Emily speechless. What could be more than everything she had already accomplished? Gregory continued, "I want to fund a scholarship for children who need this therapy the most, children who wouldn't have access to it otherwise. You've built something incredible, and I think it's time to share it with the world." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she realized that this wasn't just a gift for her. It was a gift for every child who could benefit from the healing power of dance. She had created something that had a ripple effect, and now, thanks to Gregory, it was about to grow even bigger. With his support, she could make sure no child was left behind. And in that moment, Emily knew that the journey she had started with a simple dance had just become something far more powerful than she had ever imagined. I cannot even begin to describe how Emily felt that day when she received the call from Gregory. It was one thing to be doing something meaningful, something that changed lives, but it was another to see that effort recognized in such a grand way. With Gregory's scholarship offer, she had the opportunity to expand her foundation even further, to reach more children in need, and to offer the same healing dance therapy that had worked wonders for Ethan. It wasn't just a gift to her. It was a chance to make her dream a permanent reality. Emily knew this was the moment when everything she had worked for was coming together. As she sat down to plan the next steps, her mind was racing with possibilities. She knew she needed to reach more hospitals, more communities, and get the message out to as many children as possible. The process wasn't going to be easy, but Emily was no stranger to hard work. She had already built a foundation that was making a real impact, and with the new funding from Gregory, the potential was endless. She started by working closely with local schools, building relationships with the faculty, and speaking to parents who were eager to see their children benefit from dance therapy. With each new partnership, Emily felt the weight of responsibility, but she also felt a sense of pride. She was not just building a foundation. She was creating a movement. And it was happening because of her, because of the bond she had built with Ethan and the power of that simple dance that had changed everything. Beginnings, now making a real difference in the lives of children across the country. But as much as she appreciated the attention, Emily remained focused on her mission. She wanted the story to be about the children, about the healing she was helping to bring, not about her. One day, as she was walking through the hospital's pediatric wing after a session, she noticed something that took her breath away. Ethan was there, sitting in a wheelchair, his eyes bright as he watched a group of children participating in the dance therapy program. Gregory had been in touch with the hospital's director and had arranged for Ethan to visit, to see firsthand how Emily's program was making a difference in the lives of children just like him. It was a full-circle moment for both Emily and Ethan. They shared a smile, a moment of unspoken understanding, knowing that their bond had created something far greater than they had ever imagined. Gregory stood in the background, watching them both. He could see the impact Emily had on Ethan, and he knew that she had changed their lives forever. "You've done something incredible," he said quietly to her, his voice filled with pride. "And it's only just beginning." Emily smiled back, her heart full. She had come so far, and she knew the journey was just beginning. But now, with Gregory's support, her foundation was poised to make an even bigger impact. She was no longer just the maid's daughter. She was a woman with a purpose, with a mission to change the world, one child at a time. I couldn't believe how far the foundation had come. It had started with a simple dance and a spark of hope, and now it was changing the lives of children across the country. Emily's journey had been anything but easy, but every step had brought her closer to her dream. With Gregory's continued support, her therapy program was flourishing, reaching more children every day. As she walked into the office one morning, feeling the weight of the day ahead, she paused for a moment to take in everything she had built. It was a lot to process, but she felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Emily had worked hard, but it wasn't just about the success. It was about the lives she was touching. She could see it in the faces of the children, hear it in the voices of the parents who had never seen their children so happy. Her work was making a difference, and that was all she ever wanted. But there was still so much more to be done. She had a growing team now, people who were just as passionate about the cause as she was, and it made her heart swell with gratitude. She knew that to truly make a lasting impact, she would need to keep pushing, keep expanding. It was a never-ending cycle, but one she was more than willing to take on. The support from Gregory had been a game-changer, not just in terms of funding, but in the belief he had shown in her and her vision. He had opened doors she never thought possible. But even with everything that was going right, there were challenges. Some days, the weight of it all felt heavy, and Emily wondered if she was truly capable of living up to the expectations. Would the foundation continue to grow? Would she be able to keep providing for every child who needed her? These thoughts swirled in her mind. But then she remembered the faces of the children who had benefited from her work. She remembered Ethan, the boy who had started it all. His smile was the fuel that kept her going. Then, one day, Emily received a call that would change everything. It was from a high-profile medical research institute, one that specialized in rehabilitation therapy for children with disabilities. They had heard about Emily's work and wanted to collaborate. The institute's director explained how they had been working on cutting-edge research to improve therapies for children with disabilities, and they believed Emily's dance therapy could be a perfect complement. They wanted to fund a joint project, combining the latest medical technology with the healing power of dance. Emily could hardly believe what she was hearing. This was the breakthrough she had been waiting for. With the Institute's resources and her own expertise, they could take the therapy to a whole new level. Together, they could create a program that would not only change lives, but revolutionize the way disability was treated. This collaboration was a game changer, and it would open even more doors for the foundation. Emily knew that with this partnership, her dream was no longer limited to her community. It was going to have a global impact. But as the project took shape, Emily remained focused on the core of her mission, to provide healing and hope for children in need. She never lost sight of the fact that this work wasn't just about technology or funding. It was about making a real difference in the lives of real people. As she stood in her office that evening, reflecting on everything she had accomplished, she realized that this was only the beginning. The foundation had grown beyond what she had ever imagined, and now it was expanding into areas she had never dreamed possible. There was still so much to be done, but Emily felt ready. Ready to take on the world. Ready to continue changing lives. And most importantly, ready to honor the legacy of the dance that had started it all. I can still remember the moment when Emily received the call that would change the course of her foundation. She had been at her desk, finalizing the details of an upcoming event to raise awareness about her dance therapy program, when her phone rang. The name on the screen was unfamiliar, but the voice on the other end sounded urgent. "Is this Emily Hayes?" the voice asked. "Yes, this is Emily," she replied, her curiosity piqued. "We've been following the success of your foundation, and we think we can offer you something that could take your work to the next level." Emily's heart skipped a beat. The voice introduced herself as the head of a global health organization that had been working with the top experts in the field of therapy and rehabilitation for children with special needs. They had been impressed with her progress and the impact her dance therapy program was having. They wanted to collaborate with Emily on a major international project. This collaboration would involve sharing her program worldwide, bringing dance therapy to children in various countries, and incorporating her techniques into global rehabilitation programs. Emily couldn't believe it. She had always dreamed of reaching children all over the world, but she never imagined that it would happen so soon. The organization offered to help with funding, resources, and international partnerships, allowing her to expand her work far beyond the United States. Emily immediately felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. She had worked so hard to build the foundation from the ground up, but this opportunity was on a scale she had never envisioned. With this new collaboration, the impact of her work could be felt in communities across the globe. As she sat down to process what this could mean, she thought about how much she had learned along the way. She had gone from being a shy girl with big dreams to a woman who was on the brink of changing the world. The road had been long and filled with challenges, but every step had led her here, to this moment. She thought about Ethan, the boy who had first sparked her journey. His progress had been the catalyst for everything, and now, thanks to the support of Gregory and others who believed in her, Emily was about to change the lives of children everywhere. As the months passed, Emily worked tirelessly with the Global Health Organization, preparing for the launch of their joint project. She traveled to different countries, met with leaders in the medical and therapeutic fields, and worked with local communities to introduce dance therapy as a tool for healing. The first international program rolled out in several locations across Europe and Asia, with incredible results. Children who had been struggling with physical or emotional trauma began to show remarkable improvements. Parents and doctors alike were amazed at how the dance therapy was helping children regain confidence, mobility, and even joy. Emily watched from afar as her dream became a reality, knowing that she had touched the lives of countless children. She knew, however, that the journey wasn't over. There was still so much more to be done. But in that moment, as she looked at the impact of her work on the world, she felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. Emily had started as a girl from a humble background, unsure of where life would take her. But now, she was someone who had made a difference, who had built something lasting, and who had touched the lives of people all over the world. It was a legacy she could never have imagined, and yet it was one she had earned through hard work, dedication, and a deep belief in the power of healing through dance. As the years passed, Emily's foundation continued to flourish, reaching more children than she had ever dreamed possible. What started as a small local project had grown into a global movement, with dance therapy programs being implemented in communities around the world. Emily's story had become a beacon of hope for those who believed that no dream was too big and no background too humble to overcome. But despite her success, Emily remained grounded. She often reflected on the journey she had taken, from the girl who had once struggled to make ends meet to the woman now known for changing lives across the globe. In the quiet moments, she would think back to the first day she had danced for Ethan. That simple act had ignited something inside her, a passion and purpose that had carried her through the challenges. It was hard to believe that so much had changed in such a short time. As she sat in her office, looking out over the city, Emily smiled to herself. The legacy she had built was far more than she had ever imagined. It wasn't about the accolades, the recognition, or even the money. It was about the lives she had touched. And for Emily, that was the greatest reward of all. One day, Gregory visited the foundation's headquarters to check on the progress. He had always been a quiet supporter, offering advice and resources when needed, but it was clear that he was proud of what Emily had accomplished. "I never imagined when I first offered my help that it would lead to something like this," Gregory said as he walked through the hall, admiring the photos of children who had benefited from the dance therapy. "You've built something incredible, Emily. Something that will last for generations." Emily thanked him, but she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude toward him. Without his support, none of this would have been possible. "I couldn't have done it without you, Gregory," she said. "Your belief in me and my vision is what got me through the tough times." Gregory smiled warmly, his eyes softening. "I knew from the moment I saw you with Ethan that you were going to do something extraordinary." As they walked through the building, Emily noticed a group of children in one of the therapy rooms, their faces lit up with excitement as they practiced their dance routines. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had started this journey in the first place. She had given these children a chance to heal, to find joy, and to regain something they thought they had lost. And in return, they had given her something she never expected: fulfillment, purpose, and a deep sense of connection to the world. Emily knew that her journey wasn't over. There was still so much more to be done. She dreamed of expanding the program even further, reaching children in every corner of the world who could benefit from dance therapy. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of peace, knowing that she had created something that would continue to make a difference long after she was gone. The foundation she had built was no longer just a dream. It was a reality, and it was changing the world, one child at a time. And as Emily stood there, surrounded by the laughter and energy of the children she had helped, she realized that this was her true legacy. It wasn't the wealth or the recognition. It was the lives she had touched, the joy she had given, and the hope she had sparked in the hearts of children who had once felt hopeless. This was just the beginning of something much bigger than herself, something that would continue to grow and inspire others for years to come. In this inspiring tale of perseverance and success, we follow the journey of a young girl from humble beginnings who defies all odds to make a lasting impact. Emily's story is one of transformation, where a simple act of kindness leads to a global movement that touches the lives of children around the world. From working as a maid's daughter to building an international dance therapy foundation, Emily's story reflects the power of determination and the belief that anyone can change their circumstances. This is not just one of those typical millionaire stories you've heard about, but a true testament to how compassion, hard work, and dedication can build something that lasts beyond wealth. As she collaborates with millionaires and experts in the field, Emily's success shows how opportunities, when embraced, can lead to incredible growth and change. Through every setback and victory, Emily proves that even the most unlikely individuals can rise to greatness. These millionaire stories remind us that success isn't always about money, but about the positive impact you leave on others. Emily's foundation continues to grow, reaching more children and offering them the chance to heal and thrive through dance therapy. What started as a simple desire to help a child now touches lives globally, making Emily's story one of the most heartwarming millionaire stories of all time. The future is bright for Emily, and her story serves as an inspiration for anyone striving to create a lasting legacy. This isn't just a tale of wealth. It's about the power of kindness, perseverance, and the belief that one person can make a world of difference. As more people hear her story, Emily continues to inspire others to pursue their dreams and create their own version of millionaire stories, filled with compassion and meaningful change.